Hello and welcome to Nice and Blunt. It is week 14 and it's time to get some rankings in order. Sorry about yesterday, I was a bit busy handling some personal stuff, but ready to go today. I'm going to try and get you both the running back and wide receiver rankings video out before the end of the night. So I don't want to waste any more time. These are my top 40 running backs for half PPR leagues in week 14. At number one this week, I have Alvin Kamara at the Jets, and he has by far the best matchup of the elite running backs. And it's not a guarantee that he plays. He missed the last two games, but I think that he's going to show up. We know he could pop off for 5 or 6 touchdowns. That is a possibility. And against the Jets, it's the most likely candidate for it to happen. He's missed a couple games, and you know that he's going to be the focal point if he suits up. So if he plays, Alvin Kamara would be my number one running back in week 14. Austin Eckler is right behind him versus the Giants. It's a good matchup, and odds are high he gets into the end zone. I love Austin Eckler. Same goes for Joe Mixon, who had a rough time last week. Kind of a shocking down game against the Chargers defense. It looks like they may have gotten things together, but Joe Mixon continued his touchdown streak to 9 straight games, and against San Francisco, it's going to increase to 10 in a row. Joe Mixon's definitely a top 5 running back. At number 4, I got Najee Harris at Minnesota, and that's the Thursday game. Minnesota is terrible against the run, and they're dealing with some injuries, so there's a chance that the Steelers have a lead and just feed the rock to Najee Harris. He gets a ton of volume in this one, so he's definitely a top 5 option this week. I love the matchup. In the same game, I got Alexander Mattison versus Pittsburgh. And as long as he's the number 1 running back for this team, his floor is really high every single time. And he also has a ton of upside. He always gets into the end zone as well. He is definitely a top 5 option. And if Dalvin Cook were to suit up, then he would just take his place at number 5. He would cede a few touches to Madison, and that's why I wouldn't have him in the top 3. At number 6, though, I got Leonard Fournette, who has a ton of upside, and the Bucs are really committing to the run. Buffalo has been a little bit more vulnerable recently against the run. They used to be one of the top 3 defenses in that category, but they have been slipping a little bit. Damian Harris had that huge run against them on Monday night. And even if Leonard Fournette isn't that efficient on the ground, he gets a ton of work in the passing game. He is going to be very efficient, and I think he finds the end zone. He is a top 6 play for me this week. And number 7 is Nick Chubb versus Baltimore. And there's a chance that this is too high of a ranking, but there's also a chance that it's too low of a ranking. 2 weeks ago, before the bye, the Browns played Baltimore and they were annihilated. Nick Chubb only ran for 2 yards per carry. He was really held in check, and it was his worst game of the season. However, when you look at his career stats against Baltimore specifically, his first year doesn't really count. The first game he wasn't the starter, but in year 2, he went off for 3 touchdowns and over 160 yards. The second game was pretty bad. He didn't score at all. And then in year 2, one of those games was terrible and the other game was great. He scored 2 touchdowns. So I think the same trend is going to continue this season. Nick Chubb already had his bad game, and that's why this game he is going to bounce back. I don't expect 2 terrible games in a row from Nick Chubb, especially with a bye week in the middle to prepare. He's going to be lights out. And I think he's going to take one big play to the house. And Nick Chubb has the chance to finish as the number 1 running back in any given week. But in this matchup, I'm tempering expectations a little bit, and I only have him at 7. But I don't think you should bench him. I don't think it's going to be a terrible game. I can't rank him outside my top 10. If you're in a full PPR format, though, then he would definitely come down, and I'd probably have him around like 11 because there is a little bit more risk in full PPR. Anyways, number 8 is Elijah Mitchell at Cincinnati, and he's getting a big workload. Even if Deebo Samuel comes back, he is a really reliable running back, and Kyle Shanahan has really committed to him. He has a ton of upside. At number 9, I have Antonio Gibson versus Dallas. I wanted to rank him higher, but I'm going to respect the Dallas run defense, especially with Micah Parsons leading the way. He's just so fast to the ball. I think Antonio Gibson is going to get tackled for a loss a few more times than typically, and I'm just a little bit worried about this matchup. But the workload is still massive. I still think he's a top 10 running back. If DeAndre Swift happens to suit up at Denver, then he's also a top 10 running back. The role in the passing game is huge. At number 10, though, I have Aaron Jones versus Chicago, and I expect him to be pretty much fully healthy. He did play 2 weeks ago, even though he was banged up, and then there was a bye week last week. So he had plenty of time to prepare. He's going to be good to go, and he is the guy on the goal line. So that's why I trust Aaron Jones' upside, but I'm a little bit concerned. I really think he's lost a decent amount of his role to A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon is not going away. So that's why I've dropped Aaron Jones down a little bit, but Aaron Jones can always pop off a huge play and also score multiple touchdowns in any game. So that's why I still respect him inside the top 10, but it feels a little bit risky, I'm not going to lie. At number 11, though, I got James Conner versus the LA Rams, and he's getting 20 touches, even though his efficiency has been down in the last 3 games, less than 4 yards per carry in each of those games. He is still scoring touchdowns, and he is still a very high floor type of player as long as Chase Edmonds is out. So I think this is the last week that you can play him with confidence that he's a top 12 running back, because Chase Edmonds is expected to come back for next game. However, I still like James Conner inside my top 12. At number 12 is Cordero Patterson at Carolina, and I'm a little bit worried about this matchup. I think it's more of a floor play this week for Patterson than a ceiling game. The Carolina run defense is really good, and last week we saw how touchdown dependent Cordero Patterson and his fantasy stats actually are. He did not get in the end zone, and he didn't hit 10 half PPR points. That's why I think there's a little bit more risk with Cordero Patterson. I still respect the production this season, but I just don't really love the upside in this game. At number 13, though, I have Javonte Williams versus Detroit, and I want to rank him higher, but Melvin Gordon looks like he will be coming back. If he is ruled out for this game, then Javonte Williams will be a top 10 running back for sure. The Lions are terrible against the run, and even though they beat the Vikings last week, I really don't think they'll be able to stop the Broncos in Denver. So Javonte Williams could easily go over 100 yards and a touchdown. Even if Melvin Gordon does play, I don't feel like they are not going to commit to him more after last week's performance. He is obviously the future for them, not Melvin Gordon, who's an unrestricted free agent this season. Javonte was a second-round pick. Anyways, I really love the upside, and I think he's going to have a huge game yet again. I love Javonte Williams. At number 14 is Darrell Henderson at Arizona, and I'm expecting him to be healthy, suit up for this one, and be the starting running back. However, last week he was active, and he didn't get any touches. Sony Michel did everything. They didn't really need Henderson last week, though. This game is really important. It's going to be on a Monday night, so Henderson has an extra day to prepare, get healthy. I think he'll play, and I think he'll lead the touches for the Rams. So that's why I have him as a top 15 back. However, he is banged up, and I think Sony Michel earned a bit more touches last week. So that's why I don't have Henderson inside my top 10. At number 15, though, Chuba Hubbard versus Atlanta has a great matchup, and we've seen his potential with Christian McCaffrey out earlier this season. But he is a bit touchdown dependent, and they don't really find his way all that often. So there's a bit of risk with Chuba Hubbard. Cam Newton could always vulture one of those touchdowns. I am a bit concerned that he doesn't have a huge ceiling, even in a good matchup. But Chuba Hubbard's floor is going to be really high this week. I think he's definitely a top 15 running back. I love Josh Jacobs as well at Kansas City. Kenyon Drake has been ruled out. I think he's gone for the rest of the season, if I'm not mistaken. But Josh Jacobs is just going to have a ton of work, especially in the passing game against the Chiefs. The Vegas Raiders are going to be down in this one, and Josh Jacobs will get plenty of targets out of the backfield. So in a full PPR league, I'd probably rank him a little bit higher. I really like his upside there. But if he doesn't score a touchdown, then he could be a bit of a liability. So that's why I only have him at number 16. I don't really love the scoring potential for the Raiders against a tough Chiefs defense. At number 17, though, I got Saquon Barkley, and this is supposed to be a good matchup for him. However, they really shut down Joe Mixon last week. I am worried about Saquon, but I think he probably finds the end zone in this one, and that's why I think his floor is still within the top 20. But if you've been following my videos, I have not been ranking Saquon as a must-start running back. I wouldn't blame you if you benched him. However, throughout the season, the Chargers have historically been a terrible run defense. So that's why I rank him at number 17. I think you kind of want to target this matchup. And if you don't have a bunch of better options, then it would be pretty tough for me to bench Saquon this week as well. At number 18, though, I got Tony Pollard at Washington. We saw his potential. He had a huge play that the Saints failed to tackle him before he got into the end zone. That's not really something you can count on every single week, though. And his week would have been pretty bad without that one play. So there's a bit of risk with Tony Pollard. The Washington football team is also a good run defense. The Saints are one of the best. So I don't really love the upside for Tony Pollard, but I do think he is the preferred running back in Dallas that you would want to play. I definitely would prefer him to Ezekiel Elliott. But Zeke will be involved, and he will vulture some touches. So that's the main thing that caps Tony Pollard's upside. At number 19, though, I got Clyde Edwards-Helaire versus Las Vegas. And look, he could be a top 10 running back any week, but he could also be like outside the top 30. He's very touchdown dependent, and his role in the running game is pretty reliable. I think his floor is right around here, but if he doesn't score, then he won't pay off any higher than this, and that's why he's a bit of a liability. But I still think he's a decent top 20 option at running back. At number 20, though, I got David Montgomery at Green Bay. I do not like this matchup at all. Green Bay has one of the most complete teams, and on defense, they've been able to stop pretty much everyone. So they can focus on David Montgomery, and on Sunday night, I think the Bears are really going to struggle to put up points. I don't love the upside for Montgomery in this matchup at all. At number 21, I have James Robinson at Tennessee. I do not like the upside at all. This is a terrible matchup, and the Jacksonville offense is really struggling. At number 22, I got A.J. Dillon. I think he's going to come off the field a little bit more than you would like to count on. And even though he'll dominate a few drives that'll pretty much only be his, I can't rank him in the top 20 because I just don't think he's going to get enough snaps to merit that much of a workload. At number 23, Jamal Williams at Denver. And maybe this is a bit low. He is a starting running back after all. I'm not expecting DeAndre Swift to play, but I don't like this upside at all. The matchup is terrible, and I really think that the Lions are going to struggle, so I'd rather bench Jamal Williams. At number 24, Ezekiel Elliott. I also prefer to bench him as well. I don't like this matchup, and Tony Pollard is definitely the player you want, as I mentioned earlier. Kareem Hunt could have a big game, but I think he's going to struggle a little bit more than Nick Chubb will. I don't think he's going to see a typical huge workload. It was definitely down 2 weeks ago when these two teams faced off. And I think he's a bit more touchdown dependent than you would like this week. And perhaps I'm ranking him too low, but I think that there's a lot of solid options this week. And Kareem Hunt is only my running back 25 because I really think Nick Chubb has a great game. At number 26, I got Dontrell Hilliard versus Jacksonville. And it's a bit difficult to rely on the Tennessee run game without Derrick Henry, but I think if there's one player you want, it's Dontrell Hilliard. But it's kind of hard to pick between the two, I got to be honest with you. That's why I only have him at number 26. There is some risk involved, and you're kind of counting on one big play. At number 27, though, I got Devontae Freeman at Cleveland. I think he'll have a decent workload, but I don't expect a really good game from him. There's always chance that Latavius Murray or Lamar Jackson can vulture a touchdown, and I'd kind of rather stay away in this game. At number 28, I have Melvin Gordon versus Detroit. He could get more touches than I'm expecting, but I think the workload is really going to go in favor of Javonte Williams. I'm expecting like a 65-35 type of split, not 50-50 this week, and that's why I only have Melvin Gordon as a low-end flex play. At number 29, Sony Michel at Arizona. I do think he will be involved, but at this point, we're kind of only counting on backup running backs. There aren't that many starters left, so there's some risk, there's a low floor, and you're definitely banking on a touchdown, but there's always a chance that he could do it. At number 30, I got Mark Ingram at the Jets, and it turns out he was added to the COVID list today, so odds are he doesn't suit up, but that's not a guarantee. But if he does play, it's just a great matchup, and I do think he has a chance to get in the end zone. You could do worse than Mark Ingram versus the Jets. At number 31, Samaje Perine, Joe Mixon's backup, and he was getting some work last week. I think he will be involved. But at this point in the rankings, you really got to be desperate to be starting these players. Devin Singletary, no thank you at Tampa Bay, not interested at all. Tevin Coleman versus New Orleans. I think he also was added to the COVID list today. Something happened, so there's a chance he doesn't suit up, but he would be the only Jets running back I'd be interested in. No thank you for anyone else. Ronald Jones could vulture a touchdown, but don't want to count on him. David Johnson, decent matchup, but really don't want to count on him. Rashad Penny comes in at number 36. I don't really want to count on anyone in the Seattle backfield. I think it's a huge dart throw, But if it wasn't for Travis Homer taking that fake punt to the house, like there wouldn't have been really anyone that you can count on. Adrian Peterson could score a touchdown like he did last week, but I really don't want to count on anyone here. But if I had to, I think I would take Rashad Penny. At number 37, though, I got Deontay Foreman. He could be the Tennessee running back you want, but I'd rather not count on him. Latavius Murray is also very risky. Same goes for Darrell Williams and Mike Davis, who round out my top 40. Basically, once you hit running back 29, I feel like Sony Michel is the running back who starts the very unreliable tier, and I don't want to count on anyone after him. But if you need a flex option, Melvin Gordon through like Saquon, basically, I think is that range. Otherwise, I think the top 16 are the only players who like need to be in your lineup. So that's going to wrap up this video. Those are my top 40 half PPR running back rankings. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content. I'll be out with wide receiver rankings later today and quarterback, tight end, and defense rankings tomorrow. My name is Adam Riancho, and thank you for watching Nice and Blunt.